What is spiritual activation? If you have been following any spiritual teachers for a while, you've probably seen offerings for activations. And I myself offer activations. And today I had a VIP call, and it was an activation call. And at the end of it, one of the participants who was new to my container asked, "What is an activation? I know I've just experienced one, but I don't know really what it is." So she was asking for some clarity on that. And I thought, that's something that I've been doing for so long. I hadn't even thought that certain people don't know what that means. So I would love to answer that for the whole rather than just for a few of my VIP clients. So for starters, like anything, you can probably get 25 different answers if you ask 25 different people what an activation is. I'm wa-shay-la Sananda. Thank you for joining me today. I have been in the world of spirituality for 30 years, and I started by traveling with a shaman in my early 20s. Actually, I'd already started for several years before that, but that's where I really got activated. And that activation that I received during that time really opened up my third eye center. It opened up my intuition. It opened up a lot of things so that I was able to really hone my spiritual gifts and use them in an effective way. And so activations were happening all the time, and they do happen all the time. Oftentimes we're not even aware of it. Sometimes we are. But here's how I see spiritual activations, and especially coming from the way that I offer them to my community and to my clients. There's a specific style that I have, but it's not bound to that style. And the voice, so for starters, the voice carries frequency. And I've learned to use my voice as a tool for activation. And the activation is a transmission of energy. I know that I am tapped into, we'll say, a channel of light, which is my higher self, which is my connection with the divine, and oftentimes other experiences of beings and energies come through that channel, all under the umbrella of my higher self and the divine. And when I'm going to do an activation, I open up that channel, I tune in to that high light frequency, and I allow that energy to come through my voice, through my body, through my hands, and through my energy field while I project that toward and if we're on Zoom, then it's going to be toward the Zoom viewers. It can also work by distance. They don't even have to be watching me. Oftentimes your eyes are closed, and that's a good thing when you're receiving the activation. You don't have to be in the same room. You don't have to be watching it on Zoom. You can be listening to the audio. You could even be silent at home in meditation and receive an activation, because it's the transference is based on intention. If my intention is to activate you with a certain frequency of energy, I tune into that frequency, I bring it into my own body, and I, with my intention, project that energy and that activation toward you. And then if you're an open receiver, you receive that activation in the way that's the best for you at that time. So the next question would be, what is getting activated? And again, that can be really unique to the individual experiencer. The frequency is going to be a higher light frequency than I even am normally tapped into myself, and a higher frequency than the receiver is tapped into. So what's happening is, as you will just say as you receive that frequency, you are taking it in to your energy field, and you're taking it in to your body. Sometimes you're taking it into your heart center or a specific place in your physical body. And then you're allowing that energy to work with you in its own unique way and in the way that is best for you. One of the things that it does is it will create coherent patterns in your field. So if you have if you have a number of incoherent patterns, you're likely to be experiencing physical and energetic distortions or disturbances. This can be something as feeling off emotionally, feeling off mentally, feeling out of alignment physically. In a more extreme case, it can manifest as physical ailments and even more extreme as disease. So what we do know from science is that all disease it begins outside of the body. So it begins as a pattern in the field. And when our patterns are distorted or unclear, have distortions in them, they're incoherent in the field, and we don't clear them from our field, then they get denser and denser and denser. And eventually, if they continue to densify, they will become more solidified in the body. So while it might start out here as an emotional disturbance, a trauma can cause this, right? A big trauma. And then it gets a little closer in. It might become mental, like your thoughts might become distorted. You might have negative thinking. You might feel emotionally off. Now, if you treat that with drugs, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a doctor, so this is not medical advice, but what I've witnessed is that sometimes when these patterns, these distortions in the field, resulting in emotional or mental imbalances are treated with drugs, that actually numbs the experience and it continues to densify in the body. It doesn't cure anything. It's really just like a Band-Aid, but that Band-Aid isn't healing anything. And if the person that has the problem is not doing the healing work, then it's just going to continue to fester and get worse rather than improve. And so as that densifies, it can actually become physical ailments, and then it can actually become dis-ease in the body. But the good news about that is that even disease, even the worst disease, can be instantly fixed or repaired by working with coherent patterns in the field. And by projecting coherent patterns into the field, we can really clear up the distortions that we're holding and allow our energy fields and our physical bodies to experience greater wellness, wholeness, well-being, alignment, and coherence. So this is something that Dr. Joe Dispenza has studied extensively. I do go to his retreats and I love this work because I really get it. This makes sense to me. I've seen it with my vision, my third eye vision. I've seen distorted patterns in the field doing psychic work. I know what they look like and I know how to go in and create coherence in those distortions. So it's real. I mean, it's a scientific thing that's actually been proven. And so what an activation can do, one of the things that an activation can do is clear up those distortions in the field. Now, if you're feeling a little off mentally, physically, energetically, emotionally, and you go to someone for Reiki, for instance, Reiki is working on your energy field. It can it can clear those imbalances in the patterns around you, works with your energy, and sometimes they're doing hands-on as well. And, they can do distance Reiki, they can do hands-on Reiki, they can do hands above you Reiki. There are lots of ways to do it. And it can actually clear those distortions and make you feel better. And it can actually cure you. And so can lots of different types of energy work. So in the activations, this is one of the things that I am doing. I am transferring energy to clear the distorted, incoherent patterns in your field, to bring more harmony and balance to them, to align them. I'm not calling it healing work because for me, an activation can be received in so many different ways. That might be a side effect. We might actually be going for a greater embodiment of your higher self, of your higher divine self. So in an activation, quite often, I call in high frequencies and I invite the participants to open up your heart, open up your energy field, go into a sphere of divine light and protection, and calling in your own guidance, your higher self, your divine channel, your guides and angelic presences and ascended masters that work with you. And then we work together to bring you the frequencies that will upgrade you multidimensionally. And this is why for one person, they might have a physical experience of something clearing or changing. They might have an emotional experience. They might have a mental experience. They might have all of them, or they might have all of that and more of a galactic experience. Quite often, my clients end up going galactic and receiving divine downloads from their galactic star family or their the greater galactic expressions of themselves, because that's the type of work that we do. And when you've been doing this work for a while, you will learn how to expand out and embody more of your spiritual energy and your higher self presence, which will bring you the ability to open up more to receive divine downloads. And these activations do great for clearing the field on multiple dimensions of reality. Now, the next question might be, what are divine downloads? Divine downloads, or any kind of downloads, when you receive information. So you've probably heard of clairvoyance. That's visually seeing. Clairaudience is hearing things that most people don't hear. There's also claircognizance. So claircognizance is really about downloading. It's clear knowing of something. And when we receive downloads in this way, it oftentimes occurs as, well, we just suddenly know something, or we've suddenly been given a vision of something. We suddenly hear something, and we know that that's connected to a knowingness that's beyond what we knew before. And that can be really profound and powerful. It can also be very subtle sometimes. But what we do is as we embody more of our divine presence, more of our higher self, we open up to receive these downloads in all the numerous different types of ways. Oftentimes people will have one way that's more common. I started out very clairvoyant. That was my number one gift. Now I've got all of the gifts kind of mixed up. I get downloads, I get knowings, but I am very visual. And so quite often I just rely on that sense of clairvoyance because it's the easiest one for me and the one that I've had the longest and been most attuned to. And so another part of that question is, when you've received an activation, quite often you might not feel totally grounded or balanced afterward. And that is completely normal and nothing to worry about. Oftentimes people feel a little in between, or a little kind of airy, spacey, not grounded, a little sort of incomplete in a sense. And the reason for that is because there's an integration that gets to happen. And that integration is about allowing, so these new frequencies, higher frequencies than what you're used to holding in the physical body, are coming in to be embodied. And then as you embody them, what happens is lower frequencies are no longer compatible with these higher frequencies, are not compatible with the higher frequencies. So there has to be some movement happens. Those lower frequencies will need to be eliminated and move out, be transmuted is another way to say that, while we bring the higher frequencies into the physical body and allow ourselves to hold these higher and higher frequencies. And that can feel a little in between for a while, and that's okay. So one of the ways, or some of the best ways to work through that, if you've just been through a big activation, even if you've done yoga or Kundalini or breath work, a lot of times there can be this, ooh, I feel like something just happened, I feel a little off and a little head spacey. For sometimes you'll want to go to sleep, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what I recommend before going to sleep is to go out in nature. So nature automatically will help you ground these new frequencies. This is what it's designed for so beautifully. So if you go out in the grass with bare feet or the dirt with bare feet, you put your face in the sun or expose your skin to the sun. If it's sunrise or sunset, you can look right at the sun. If that's comfortable for you, usually right as sunset, 15 minutes before sunset and 15 minutes after sunrise. It's very easy to look at the sun. So start there. If you're I do teach sun gazing and I love sun gazing and I practice sun gazing, but don't go out and look at midday sun if that's not what you've been trained to do, because that can be that can actually cause distortions if it's too much too soon. But to go out in the sun, expose some of your skin. If it's bright out, close your eyes, put your face in the sun, receive those frequencies. Those will actually help you balance. The sun is full of frequency codes, light codes. And as we bring those codes into our skin is designed to receive them, bring them into our skin, into our body. They will also help us create coherence and also help us assimilate the activation codes that we have just received. And so nature is wonderful. You can hug a tree, you can lay on the grass, you can go in the water. If you have a body of water, a river, a stream, an ocean near you, just put your feet in the water, or if it's warm enough and safe, swim in the water. Just get your head wet. That can be very helpful too. And then be in the sun a little bit, ground with bare feet, and then really tune in to the land. That's going to be so helpful. You tune into the earth, commune with the earth, feel the earth, invite the earth to assist you in your balancing. This is going to be very helpful in integrating your activation codes. After you've spent some time in nature and you're starting to hopefully feel more integrated after an activation, then the next step would be take an assessment of how your body feels. Do you feel, sometimes you're going to feel really lit up and energized, and you're going to want to move your body, dance, maybe take a walk or a run if you like to exercise, or just go outside, hike, something like that can be really balancing if you're feeling energized after an experience like that. Sometimes you might have the opposite effect and feel exhausted. And what that means, if you feel exhausted after an activation, is you just did a lot of energy work, you soaked up a lot of energy, you probably integrated a new part of yourself into your physical vehicle. And so now your body needs to sleep. You need to go to sleep so that you can integrate this activation and this embodiment of more parts of yourself. And I've known people that have had an activation who have gone to sleep for 10, 12 hours. But that's the extreme. Sometimes you'll want to sleep for just 30 or 60 minutes. But again, very unique. And it depends on what level you receive the activation, on how much clearing you did in the process, how much you need to integrate, and how much sleep you need. And then again, you might wake up feeling super energized and refreshed. Go outside again. I can't say enough about getting nature to help you integrate, going out in nature, experience the wildlife, be barefoot, soak up the sun. That's always going to help you with any spiritual integration. And then the final phase of your integration experience, of your activation or expansion, is take note. Now, this can be journaling. Journaling's wonderful. I know not everybody likes to journal, and that's okay, but take note of how you felt before the experience and how you feel after the experience. And if you're on your ascension path and you're doing this work, then it's really good to keep a document, to have a journal, have an ascension journal where you're regularly taking notes about your experiences, your upgrades. You're noticing what is happening to your body physically, mentally, emotionally, and energetically. You're noticing, oh, I feel different, and this is how I feel now. That's how I felt before. And, just to have an awareness, because a lot of times what can happen, you might receive these little incremental incremental upgrades over time. And at some point, you're going to know that you feel different, but you won't have that clarity of, what was it, or how did I feel before? So it is really nice to document and keep track of what's going on as you have these activations and ascension experiences. And it also reminds you to keep doing the work, because another thing that can happen is maybe you're doing a ton of spiritual work for a short amount of time and you have a massive expansion, and then you're like, okay, I'm good, I got it, I'm all ascended now, and you go about your life, and then life happens and things bring you down, you start to lose energy and lose your frequency, or your frequency starts to go back down. You might come to a point, you're like, wait a minute, what happened? I don't feel like I did before. I don't feel as good anymore. And when you're keeping track of your progress and your process, you're much more likely to keep doing the work. And, I can tell you from experience, when you just take a class and do the work during that class, and then you stop and you do nothing else and expect that to hold, a lot of times it doesn't. And life is going to happen. So you need to create a system, a ritual, and a practice for yourself to keep yourself incrementally upgrading, keep yourself activating, keep yourself ascending. Those little bitty baby steps, they add up over time, and you're going to find yourself in a much higher, brighter, lighter, activated place if you keep doing the work. We'll say every day for a year, you're doing a little bit of work. You might have a massive expansion. Maybe you go to a retreat or take a course. You have this great big expansion 6 months into the year. And then at the end of the year, you might balance out if you're not doing any more work. Or you might just do a little bit of work every single day, little breath work, little meditation, whatever it is, and a little contemplation. At the end of the year, you could actually end up in a much higher place doing that incrementally every day, and it's sustainable, and that upgrade continues to upgrade and be sustainable, versus doing these bursts of expansion and then letting yourself kind of fall off track again. So I am an embodied ascension teacher, and this is my favorite course to teach. It's 6 months, embodied ascension, and we meet on Zoom. I have a new pod starting November 1st that I'm so excited. The people in this pod, or cohort, whatever you want to call it, are so ascended already. And what happens when you come into a group like this, you are going to benefit from everyone else, and everyone else is going to benefit from you. There are no prerequisites. You don't have to have done a certain amount of work or attained a certain level of spiritual adeptness or mastership. You just have to have the desire to work on yourself, do the work, and ascend. I've created the container. I bring the people together to work together, and we do activations, we do meditations, we do ascension work. We open up, we learn to embody higher parts of ourselves and open the heart center, activate the diamond light of the heart. We learn galactic shamanism. We learn to go to access our star lineage and star families for those of us, and we all are to some level star seeds and star children here. And also, of course, we go into Mother Earth and explore nature. That's all part of it. Shamanism and galactic shamanism is a deep part of what I do and teach. Ascension and embodiment is how we put that into practice, embodying more of your divine light so that you become the person that holds the frequency of activation for others. You can walk out into the world. You don't even have to be doing energetic work. Working with other people is going to be natural just by interacting with your frequency. You are going to be upgrading other people. You're going to be bringing higher light to the places that you go. People they gravitate to you when you hold this level of light, and you find it really interesting as you upgrade your frequency. The people that you attract are going to also be of an ascended nature, and they're going to want to commune with your light. And it just gets really fun. Manifestation becomes easier. Everything in life really just gets to be juicy and fun and exciting. And so this is really my delight to teach Embodied Ascension. I would love to invite you. I'm going to put a link in the show notes to book a call. If you're interested, you can have a conversation with someone from my team and see if Embodied Ascension is right for you. Again, we're starting November 1st, the next round, and it's going to be good and powerful and very activating. Thank you for joining me. If you like this video, please like it, subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you next time. I love you. I cherish you. Namaste.